There's a reason trading feels so personal, because it is. Every chart you stare at, every decision you make, every emotion that rises inside you, they're not just reactions to the market. They're reflections of your inner world. Trading isn't about predicting what comes next. It's about mastering who you are while you wait. Welcome to Mind Over Markets, a place where we go beyond price action, beyond indicators, beyond numbers. Here we talk about the real game, the one inside your mind. Because the market doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards self-awareness. And the moment you understand your emotions, you begin to understand the market itself. Today's topic is one of the most deceptive battles every trader faces: the art and psychology of taking profits. Do you take them partially? Do you take them all? When do you act? And more importantly, why? Let's go deep into the emotion behind every close trade click, into the tension between safety and conviction, into the part of your mind that decides often before you even realize it. Because profit taking isn't about money, it's about meaning. And today we're going to find yours. There's a moment in every trader's journey, a moment when the chart is green, the position is in profit, and your heart starts to whisper, take it. You watch the numbers flicker, your unrealized gains dancing in front of you, not yet yours, but close enough to feel like they are. And then comes the tension. Do you lock it in now, or do you hold hoping for more? You tell yourself it's a rational decision. You talk about resistance levels, market structure, momentum. But deep down, you know it's not about logic. It's about emotion. Because profit taking isn't a technical act. It's psychological warfare. A quiet battle between greed and fear playing out in the corners of your mind. Every trader has faced that same choice, partial or full. Close half and let the rest run, or take it all and walk away clean. It sounds simple, but it never is. Because behind every click of that close trade button lies a storm of human emotion. The fear of giving back what you've earned, the temptation of what you might still gain, and the silent question that haunts every decision. What if I'm wrong? You see, taking profits isn't just about numbers on a screen. It's about control, the illusion of it, the loss of it, and the desperate attempt to regain it. The market offers you a taste of reward, a glimpse of certainty in a sea of chaos. And in that moment, your brain lights up with dopamine, the chemical of I made it. But dopamine is deceptive. It doesn't celebrate what you have. It pushes you to chase what's next. That's why most traders can't hold a winner, because satisfaction fades faster than the candle moves. And when it does, fear takes its place. You close your trade, and for a second you feel relief, then regret, then anger at yourself for closing too soon. Or worse, you watch the market reverse and feel the sting of lost profit, sharper than any losing trade. Loss hurts, but lost profit, it burns differently. It's not pain from the market, it's pain from your own decision. Here's the truth most traders never face. You can master charts, strategies, and risk management, but unless you understand your emotional patterns, you'll always sabotage your best trades. Profit taking exposes your true mindset. It reveals how you feel about uncertainty. It shows whether you trade to win or trade to avoid pain. There are two types of traders in this moment. The first says, I'll take partial profits just to be safe. They seek comfort. They want to relieve the pressure. The second says, I'll hold until my plan tells me to exit. They seek discipline. They want to feel in control. But both are wrong if their choice is driven by emotion, because the truth isn't in partial or full. It's in why you choose. Think about this. When you close a trade too early, is it really your strategy that told you to, or your nervous system? When you hold too long, is it patience, or greed disguised as confidence? The brain doesn't like uncertainty. In fact, it sees it as danger. So it pushes you to act to do something even if that something breaks your plan. This is why many traders feel in control only when clicking buttons. Because action feels safe, waiting feels dangerous. But the best traders in the world, they've learned to reverse that. They find peace in stillness and power in patience. Let's talk about partial profit taking. It feels smart, right? You secure something, you reduce risk, you breathe easier. Psychologically, it's powerful because it satisfies the need for closure. It tells your brain you've done well, you've locked in a win. And in that relief, you stop obsessing. You can think clearly again. But there's a cost, because sometimes that small win you locked in was the seed of a bigger victory you never let grow. By cutting your winner short, you deny yourself the opportunity to experience what true conviction feels like. Then there's full profit taking, the all or nothing play. It feels decisive, powerful, like you've beaten the market on your own terms. But that power fades fast when the next candle moves higher, and suddenly you're watching the market continue without you. Your perfect exit now looks like a mistake. Regret sets in. And with it comes a dangerous thought: I should have held longer. That's the birth of revenge trading. The subtle urge to chase what you could have had. It's not about the setup anymore, it's about redemption. You see, the market doesn't just test your strategy, it tests your identity, your need to be right, your relationship with uncertainty, your attachment to outcome. Every trade you close is a mirror showing you who you are under pressure. Are you the trader who trusts his plan, or the one who needs constant reassurance? Do you take profit because the chart says so, or because you can't stand the tension anymore? This is why two traders can trade the same setup with the same entry and walk away with completely different results. Not because of price action, but because of emotional action. One operates from discipline, the other from discomfort. And it shows. Because trading isn't about predicting markets, it's about managing yourself. When you feel the urge to close too soon, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Is it losing money or losing the feeling of being right? When you feel the urge to hold too long, ask, what am I trying to prove? Because sometimes you're not holding for profit, you're holding for validation. The truth is, partial or full profit taking is not a strategy. It's a reflection of your emotional maturity as a trader. A mature trader knows there's no perfect exit. There's only a planned exit. They don't chase the high of being right. They chase the consistency of being calm. Because calmness, that's the real profit. There's a paradox in trading. The more you try to control your profits, the more control you lose, because profit taking isn't about mastery of charts, it's about mastery of self. And self-control begins where certainty ends. Most traders never learn this. They think their struggle is with timing, but it's not. It's with tolerance. The tolerance for uncertainty, for discomfort, for that heavy silence between the candle you want to form and the candle that actually does. When you take profit too early, it's not because the market forced you. It's because your mind screamed louder than your plan. That small voice whispering, you might lose it all. That voice doesn't care about your strategy. It only cares about survival. Because your brain was designed for survival, not success. It rewards safety, not patience. It pushes you to secure the known instead of risking for the unknown. That's why early exits feel right. Because biologically, they are. Your nervous system releases tension. Your cortisol drops. You feel safe, but safe rarely equals successful. And what feels comfortable often kills your edge. Partial profit taking plays directly into this illusion. It lets you tell yourself a comforting story. I'm still in the trade, but I've locked some profit. It's a clever trick. You think you've balanced emotion and logic, but sometimes you've just disguised fear as wisdom. You're afraid of losing what you have, so you sell half. But the part you hold isn't really about opportunity anymore. It's about hope. Hope that the market will validate your decision, that the leftover position will make you feel smart. And when it doesn't, you don't just lose money, you lose trust in yourself. Trust, that's the word most traders never talk about. They talk about setups, edges, win rates, but not trust. Because trust can't be coded. It can't be back-tested. It must be felt and earned through pain. When you trust yourself, you don't need to control every tick. You can let the trade breathe. You can let uncertainty exist without rushing to silence it. That's emotional mastery. That's what separates professionals from survivors. Let's look deeper at the psychology behind this. Every time you take a trade, your brain creates a mental contract. It says, if I win, I'm competent. If I lose, I'm flawed. That's why profit-taking decisions are so charged. They're not just about money, they're about identity. Closing a trade early can feel like self-protection. Holding too long can feel like self-proving. And somewhere between the two lies the sweet spot where the decision isn't emotional at all. But finding that spot requires self-awareness most traders never develop. Here's the irony. You can't think your way out of emotion. You can only become aware of it. Because the more you try to suppress fear, the stronger it grows. The more you pretend to be disciplined, the less authentic your decisions become. True discipline isn't resistance, it's understanding. Understanding why you want to act before you act. When you feel the urge to take profit, pause. Ask yourself, is this decision aligned with my system, or am I trying to escape a feeling? Most of the time, it's the second one. And here's where traders confuse things. They think the goal is to eliminate emotion. It's not. The goal is to recognize emotion and make peace with it. Emotion is data. It's feedback from your subconscious. It tells you what part of you feels unsafe. Listen to it, but don't obey it. Fear says, protect what you've made. Greed says, push for more. Wisdom says, follow the plan. That's the voice you train to hear. When traders talk about trailing stops or scaling out, they're not really talking about technique. They're talking about coping mechanisms. Partial profit taking becomes a way to manage anxiety. Full profit taking becomes a way to silence doubt. Neither is wrong, but both can be traps if driven by emotion instead of awareness. Because every technique that calms you can also blind you. The real question isn't, what method should I use? It's what emotion am I managing? Some traders are addicted to closing trades. They crave the relief of being done. Others are addicted to holding. They chase the thrill of being right. Both are emotional addictions masked as strategy. You can see it in their patterns, the early closer who never catches big moves. The stubborn holder who turns profits into losses. Different behavior, same root cause, the inability to sit with uncertainty. Uncertainty is the price of success. Every great trader pays it. But the novice tries to negotiate to find comfort where there should be courage. The truth is, you can't outsmart uncertainty. You can only outgrow your fear of it. That's why the best traders aren't the smartest. They're the calmest. Because calmness allows clarity. And clarity allows consistency. Let's pause on that word calm. Calm doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you don't act on everything you feel. A calm trader still feels fear, still feels greed, still feels doubt, but he doesn't mistake those feelings for truth. He observes them like clouds passing through the sky of his mind. And then he returns to the plan. That's emotional freedom. Not the absence of emotion, but freedom from being controlled by it. So when you ask, should I take partial or full profit? You're really asking, how much emotion can I tolerate before I break? And that's the real test. Because profit-taking decisions are simply mirrors reflecting your inner capacity for discomfort. The more you can hold discomfort without reacting, the more profits you'll let mature. The less you can tolerate it, the sooner you'll close trades, just to feel relief. The market rewards emotional strength. It punishes emotional escape. That's why trading feels like therapy, because every trade exposes something about you, your fears, your needs, your impatience, your craving for control. You think you're learning price action, but you're really learning yourself. And every time you avoid that truth, you stay stuck in the same emotional loop. You close early to feel safe, then regret it, then hold too long next time to overcompensate, then regret that too. And the cycle repeats. It's not bad luck, it's unresolved emotion, until you face that no system will save you. To break the cycle, you must build emotional structure. Just like you have technical rules, you need psychological ones. Rules like I only take profit when my plan says so. I will not close a trade to reduce anxiety. I will tolerate discomfort without reacting. These rules aren't about the market, they're about your mindset. Because when your inner system is stable, your outer system works as designed. That's the evolution of a trader, from reacting to responding, from fearing loss to accepting risk, from chasing control to mastering surrender. You stop trying to predict the future and start managing your present state. You stop asking, will this trade work, and start asking, can I stay calm if it doesn't? That's when you know you're progressing, because you're no longer trading for validation, you're trading for growth. There's a point in every trader's evolution where the charts stop being about price and start becoming a mirror reflecting discipline, fear, ego, and growth. At that point, you realize the market isn't teaching you how to trade. It's teaching you how to feel, how to sit with uncertainty, how to manage tension, how to let go of control without losing composure. That's what profit-taking truly reveals. It's not a test of your method, it's a test of your maturity. Let's go deeper. Every emotional response during a trade is a signal, a reflection of an internal narrative you've been carrying often since long before you ever opened a chart. When you fear giving back profit, you might be reacting to more than money. You might be reacting to the memory of lost times in your life when something good didn't last, and you promised yourself you'd never let that happen again. When you hold too long ignoring your exit, you might not be chasing profit. You might be chasing validation, the need to prove to yourself that you were right all along. Every trader carries their past into their trades, their insecurities, their pride, their patterns. The chart simply exposes them in real life. That's why true mastery begins not with a new indicator, but with awareness. Awareness of how your mind behaves under pressure. Awareness of the emotional patterns that repeat. Awareness of how your body feels when fear starts whispering. Because until you notice the pattern, you'll keep reliving it. Different day, different trade, same emotional loop. Here's a truth few are ready to accept. You don't need to be fearless to be profitable. You just need to stop being reactive. Fear will always be there. So will greed. So will doubt. They don't disappear, they just lose their authority over you. You stop fighting them and start listening to them like data. You realize that fear doesn't mean exit now. It means check your risk. Greed doesn't mean add to your position. It means be aware of your ego. Emotion becomes information, and information becomes advantage. Let's talk about rewiring. If you want to change your results, you must change your relationship with discomfort. Because trading is not about eliminating discomfort. It's about expanding your capacity to hold it without breaking. Imagine this. Every time you feel the urge to close too soon, pause for 10 seconds. Breathe. Watch the impulse rise and fall. Don't react, just observe. Do that again tomorrow and again next week. Slowly, your nervous system adapts. The discomfort that once controlled you becomes manageable. You're rewiring your emotional threshold, training yourself to stay composed under pressure. That's emotional conditioning. That's trading psychology in practice. Here's another powerful shift. Stop asking, how much can I make? Start asking, how long can I stay consistent? Because trading success isn't built on excitement. It's built on endurance. Every impulsive close costs you growth. Every emotional hold costs you clarity. Every time you act from fear instead of plan, you reinforce the wrong habit. But every time you sit with tension and let your system guide you, you train your mind to obey logic over emotion. That's how you build conviction. Conviction isn't confidence. Confidence comes from winning. Conviction comes from trust, the kind that survives even after you lose. Let's revisit the choice, partial or full profit taking. Neither is superior. The power lies not in the action, but in the awareness behind it. A professional trader takes partial profits strategically, not because of fear, but because it aligns with their long-term expectancy model. They take full profits when the system signals exit, not when the candle feels done. They trade with clarity, not comfort. They let discomfort exist, but not decide. That's the difference. Amateurs act to feel better. Professionals act to execute better. You might wonder, how do I become that professional? It starts with one decision to stop treating trading like an escape and start treating it like a mirror. Every time you feel the impulse to act emotionally instead of judging yourself, observe. Name the feeling. Label it out loud. This is fear. This is greed. This is uncertainty. The moment you name it, you separate yourself from it. And once you separate from it, you can choose differently. That's awareness. That's mastery. Understand this. You don't fix trading psychology in a day. You evolve through it. Trade by trade, emotion by emotion. Each time you resist the urge to react, you grow stronger. Each time you accept uncertainty without panic, you build resilience. Each time you take profit according to plan, you reinforce self-trust. And one day you'll notice something subtle. The market will feel quieter. Not because it changed, but because you did. Your nervous system stopped chasing safety. Your mind stopped chasing perfection. You finally made peace with uncertainty. That's when you become unstoppable. So when the next trade goes green and your pulse quickens and your mind whispers, take it now, pause. Ask yourself, is this my system speaking? Or my fear of losing what I've gained? Because one builds your career, the other builds your anxiety, and you always get to choose which voice you follow. There will always be another setup, another opportunity, another candle, but there will never be another you. And if you burn your discipline chasing dopamine, you'll trade away the very mindset that success requires. The best traders know the goal isn't to win every trade. It's to preserve the state of mind that allows you to win over time. Profit taking is not an exit. It's a reflection of how you think, how you feel, and how you evolve. The more aware you become, the clearer your decisions. The clearer your decisions, the greater your edge. Not because you outsmarted the market, but because you finally outgrew yourself. So take a deep breath, look at the chart in front of you, and remember, you're not fighting the market. You're learning from it. Every tick, every trade, every emotional impulse, it's all data. Data about you, your mind, your growth. And once you start listening to that data with humility and awareness, you'll never fear taking profits again. Because you'll understand it was never about the profits. It was always about the person taking them. Take a breath. Look back at your last trade. Not the entry, not the setup, but the moment you decided to close it. What drove that choice? Was it your system or your state of mind? That single moment, the click, the sigh, the rush, that's where your growth lives. Trading will always test your edges, but more than that, it will test your patience, your honesty, your calm. Every trade you take is a conversation between fear and discipline, between greed and gratitude, between who you are and who you're becoming. And maybe that's the real purpose of trading, not to make more money, but to understand yourself more deeply. Because once you master you, the market becomes simple. So the next time you're staring at profit, remember the chart isn't asking, will you win? It's asking, can you stay true to your plan when it feels uncomfortable? That's where mastery begins. That's where transformation happens. That's mind over markets. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to pause, reflect, and subscribe. Not for more strategies, but for more clarity. Because in the end, the most profitable trade you'll ever make is the one between your emotions and your awareness.